Thank you, Jill. All right, thank you. All right. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Great to see everyone here today. Today we're going to talk about classroom environment, and it's really not about you, it's about them. And one of the things, and forgive me, Bridget, my wife, for stealing this morning, is a mirror. And if you think about a mirror, it's wonderful for reflection. But yet, I think there might be a flaw in the mirror, because one of the toughest things to do is to look at yourself in the mirror, especially about the practice that you do, if it's teaching or leading a company or what that might be. And so let me share with you one of the epiphanies that I had. And this should be on. Help. That's why I'm the guinea pig first. Very good, thank you. Do I just turn it on? It should be on. I'll just point to you. How's that sound? All right, and so many years ago, I had an epiphany, a classroom environment epiphany. And what happened was, I thought I was doing a great job in teaching kids and inspiring kids. And so I would tell funny jokes in class, and they'd laugh. They'd see me in the hallway and realize and say hello to me. And I thought I was doing a really great job until one day, I had a student come up to me and say, you know, Mr. Conway, I love listening to your lectures and your stories, but I hate Fridays. And I was taken back, and I thought, hating Fridays? Well, why would you hate Fridays? Well, here on Fridays, like all across America, social studies concentrates on current events. And so on Fridays, we would do this Jeopardy game towards the Voga Cup, and I really made a big deal out of this. And I thought kids were having fun. But what I realized was I was alienating kids, because what I did through the competition is I really then exposed many of the social skills kids were lacking when it came from winning and losing, sharing, taking turns, and so on and so forth. And so after that epiphany, I really decided, you know what, classroom environment is my passion. And I want to look deeper into what makes a good classroom environment and so on. Click. All right. So why is it important to build a positive classroom environment? Well, number one, when you look at any environment that you enter into, our brains immediately scan what's going on to see whether or not it's safe, whether or not we're going to get along with others. What are the repercussions of talking or not talking, and so on. Our brains naturally do this. And so when entering a classroom, students do the exact same thing. And the research is very clear that with positive classroom environments, we see that the academic achievement and efficacy rises in students. That's why it's important. And I think, personally, that it is a much overlooked area of education. We concentrate so much on content, but not enough on how do kids relate with each other. How can we get away from thinking classroom management is about me, when really we should be thinking about how classroom environment is about them? So what are the challenges that we see in building a positive classroom environment? Well, one of the things that we see is, click, we see that many times when we look at ourselves in a mirror, we see only ourselves. And it's very hard for us to understand or see the reality beyond ourselves. And so when students perceive or share their perceptions of classroom environment, many times it is much lower than how the teacher looks at that classroom environment, because many times it's a reflection upon their classroom management and not about the relationships between students. And so when students have an opportunity to give feedback as teachers, that scares us to death. I don't know about you, but when Rate My Teacher came out, right, all of us went there and said, what are they saying about us? I may even added a few comments to bump up my scores. I know all of you have done that as well, right? But it's very hard. We dread hearing from our students sometimes because the harsh reality that may come. So we're very satisfied with our once-a-year observations from administrators because we can put the pony show on for any one given day. But truly, how are we reflecting upon our classroom environment or our team environments for that matter? A second challenge or problem would be that of sharing basic positive values. If you think years ago of the values that students had coming to our classrooms and those coming to our schools today, they are much different. In fact, let me share with you just a few stats. In a research study, they found that 83% of students that were surveyed lied to their parents about something significant. 64% lied to a teacher about doing something significant. 36% copied off the internet or cheated on a test. I think they lied about lying. And 30% stole something from somebody else. But yet, overall, 95% of the students were happy with their ethics and morals. And so there's a disconnect between what we expect and what is coming into our classrooms. And so when we have students coming together with a lack of social skills, we see that the environment is unable to become a cooperative one. And what we're missing is opportunities to teach kids social skills because they come to us unprepared, as they may have earlier. Another point or another statement of problem would be that many times schools are taking and teachers are taking a neutral position on social skills. It's not our job, that's the parents. Well, guess what? They're coming to us and we've got to teach them what they don't know. And unfortunately, we have to get over the fact that parents are not teaching their kids the same social skills that are necessary to be successful. Because what's happening is there's a gap between what businesses want and what production is coming out of our schools in terms of social skills, teamwork, collaboration, and so on. So what are the key elements of environment? Well, first, a sense of belonging. Think about your classroom or your team environment that you may be leading as a leader. How are you promoting this sense of belonging? For instance, all of us like to be part of something. I mean, if you think about what just recently happened at Penn State and how all of us gathered together to show that we are Penn State. Think about every Sunday and when you walk around and you see people with NFL jerseys on. My little boy Brooks every Friday wears his Dover Eagles t-shirt with pride because there's a sense of belonging. And when we look at what type of instructional strategies that are occurring across our classrooms, how indeed are students feeling that sense of belonging? Another item to think about is the feeling needed by others. It feels darn good when somebody needs us. I can remember the very first time when I taught Arthur to read a clock. I was in 3rd grade and went to the resource room at the time, and I remember the feeling that I had teaching him. It felt darn good to feel needed by others. And conversely then, it's good to know that I can depend on others who need me. And if you think about a classroom environment or a team environment, we all need each other to be successful. And so as classroom instructors, team leaders, how are you promoting that feeling of needing one another to accomplish whatever goal you're setting out to accomplish? Equity. All of us believe in equity. Even as old as we are right now, equal turns is important. For instance, have you ever gone to an amusement park, maybe Walt Disney World, and all of you have been in a queue that maybe had been a little wide, and all of a sudden the people behind you start inching up like they're going to pass you. So what do? You throw them the look. What do you think you're doing? And then when you come to a turn in the line, what you do is you hug the corner so they can't get in front of you. You're laughing because it's so true. We as adults care about social skills. Okay? I'm going to give you another example. If you think about relating with others, I don't know about you, but when I get on a plane, I want to know the person next to me's name. So when I'm yelling, please hold me, I know who I'm talking to. But how many times have you gotten on a plane and you barely spoke a word or even looked at them? Because if I look, I might have to engage. Is that a social skill problem? I'm not sure. But I at least want to know who I'm going down with. Do something one time to freak people out. I love doing this. Go on an elevator, and we have social norms when going on an elevator. When you're the only one, you walk in and you sometimes stand in the center, right? But when somebody else comes in, where do you move? To one of the corners. See, everybody knows. So you move one of the corners, and where does that person come? They go to the other corner, right? And so the third person comes in, where do they stand? Dead center, right? And where are you looking? The numbers. Because if you're looking at the numbers, you don't have to engage. Sort of like kids texting in the hallway, not looking up, making eye contact, because that might mean they have to talk. So here's your challenge. Over the next year, at least one time, go into an elevator and be that third person. Instead of facing forward, simply turn around and face them. It will freak them out. I'm telling you. But why is that so uncomfortable for us? What haven't we done to prepare people to communicate with one another in a social setting that may be unfamiliar to them? Because let's face it, we have more of those opportunities of being with unfamiliar people than with people that we're familiar with in this age of technology and work and so on. Another thing to consider is, of course, value and action. We, of course, want to know that what we're doing has value. And when we have value, we have engagement. When we have engagement, we have gains, growth in our knowledge, and in our relationships. When we see no value, then obviously we shut down and we check out. Thus, having a high school dropout where 7,000 students a day are dropping out of our high schools. Okay? 7,000 kids a day. Obviously, there's a loss of belonging because schools should be the place where everybody's accepted. Everybody is given a chance to be needed, a chance to feel as though that they're equal upon others. I'll give you a good example. Growing up, I don't know about you, but when a teacher would call on a student, you always had those one or two kids would always raise their hands, right? And as soon as they called on Susie, I checked out because, hey, Susie's got it. And eventually, you start seeing over time, kids raise their hands less. Why? Because they let others do the work for them. That's how I got through high school and most of college, because I made sure that I was in a group that had a smart kid and a cute girl. All right, yeah, that's how I got through, because I didn't have any individual accountability. But now, what can we do to improve the fact that kids are coming to us with lack of social skills and so on? Next slide. So here's what we can do. I propose and challenge all of you, no matter what capacity that you serve in, is to look at how you are structuring the interaction among your classrooms and among your teams. How in the world are you structuring it? Is it allowed to be a free-for-all, where you have hogs and logs in that conversation dominating? And all of you know people who dominate conversations, right? And you can't get a word in, right? And that then produces people who will become disgruntled or disenfranchised, because why should I bother even trying? Because it's going to be dominated by others. And so how do we structure interaction? Well, there's two things that I really want to promote for you. And that is, number one, opportunities to listen to others and be heard. That's a key, in a structured way. As soon as you say, so what do you all think about that? Obviously, the dominators are going to talk first and dominate the conversation. But think of ways in which you can structure the time and or turns for kids as well as your employees to give feedback. Because we all have been in meetings where it has been so boring, we start texting, checking email, and so on and so forth. All right, last but not least, I'm going to leave you with a final thought. You know, if you have a vision of what your team, oh, thank you, okay, thank you, sorry, time out. This is where the commercial is, right? All right, so I thought I was running out of time. All right, opportunities to practice social skills, all right? Look for ways to enhance them. If you see something broken, have them practice it. Model it, practice, and they'll internalize it. But it's not a separate unit for a guidance department to do. It is embedded in everything that we do, because kids will do as we do. And so I leave you with this final thought, that environment means so much to the success and the collaboration and cooperation of any classroom, any team that you might be leading. And so if you have a vision of your team, keep in mind that visionaries dream with their eyes open, while while others keep their eyes closed or shut to awaken to status quo. In other words, you have to see it and keep your eyes open to what vision you have for your classroom environment or your team environment. In fact, this morning, when I woke up, I realized, you know what, my little boy taught me yet one more lesson. And I was doing this mirror thing, and you know what, I said, we can improve this mirror in education. So we were playing Connect 4 last night, and as I was peering through the Connect 4, I saw my little boy being a reflection of me, but yet growing as his own individual. And so I thought, what if we develop a mirror, an educational reality mirror that looks like this, where I have a reflection of myself, but I'm able to see through to the other side. So I challenge you, how are you reflecting? And how are you envisioning what your goals are beyond yourself? So again, it's not about you, it's about them. Next slide. And that's it. Next slide. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Is this our exit? Hi, Mom.